It's another 2026 rookie mock draft right here on the Dynasty Hotseat. We got Matt Cooper in the house from Couch Scouts. We're going to do a Superflex first round, plus a couple of sleepers and things like that as well. Stay tuned, you don't want to miss it. Matt, great to have you on the show. Always love having first-time guests on. You're from Couch Scouts, of course. You guys do loads of stuff with your scouting process and talk rookies all the time. You said you play a bit of Debbie as well, so you know some of this class. Matt, it's great to have you on the show. How you doing?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man. It's always good to be a guest on a new podcast and make new friends and get connected with new people. So I love it. Thanks for reaching out, man.
Oh, absolutely my pleasure. I can't wait to get into this class. And before we really do a big deep dive into things, you've got your own process over at Couch Scouts. Do you want to talk us through what is it you guys do and what kind of things do you offer on your podcast and your website? You got loads of stuff that the listeners could be really interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a podcast, Couch Scouts. You can just search Couch Scouts on any of the Apple, Spotify, anywhere you listen to podcasts. We should be on there. And we also have a website for our members that we have some subscription services people can buy with different extra tools, extra analysis. Probably our main offering, the main reason people subscribe to the Couch Scouts typically is our rookie guide. Every year we have 60, 70 prospects that we go deep dive on. We watch 3 to 5 games of all 22. We put out, trait by trait analysis. We rank them. We give like numerical film grades based on what we're seeing on tape. So it's a pretty in-depth process. Even as we get into the mock draft here in a minute, really our process, we start December 1st and we go all the way through April, and we hit a couple of guys a week so that by the time we get there, we have gone really in depth and taken our time going through a lot of prospects. We start early. But I'm only about 2 weeks into that process. So you mentioned I play Debbie. I can tell you like who the projected top 12 guys are. I know a decent amount about what they've done in college and what they're good at and that type of thing. But there's really only about 6 guys that I've hit that in-depth analysis on so far. And I'll hit on which 6 of those guys as we go through. But yeah, it's a pretty in-depth, detailed process. I think it's led us to hit on some value in recent years. Probably our biggest hit was like we were pounding the table hard for Bucky Irving in round 3 a couple of years ago.
Nice.
And just saying he's a smash value. We had an early second round grade on him. We were pretty high on Cam Scattaboo. Last year, Travis Hunter was our ride or die 102. So still holding our fingers on that one, but crossing our fingers. But yeah, I mean, we try to really get into the film, and we think there's still an edge to be had there from a scouting standpoint and finding value at ADP. And so we also have like a bonus podcast for our members every week on the site. People can book one-on-one consultations with us, get on for a 30-minute Zoom call and talk about a roster of their choosing and just a lot of different things. So y'all could definitely check that out, couchscouts.com, and hopefully find some good value there. And we should run a promo. I'm going to make a spur of the moment decision here. I'll set this code up after we get off the show. I'll set up promo code Hotseat and you can get 20% off any of our subscriptions. How about that?
I love that. Well, happy holidays to everyone. You get your 20% off. Use the promo code Hotseat over on couchscouts.com. Absolutely love that, Matt. Very generous. Thank you so much. Yeah. Matt, before we dive into our mock draft board and we pull up the definitely not glitchy Fantrax website, do you want to give me and give the viewers a little overview from what you've seen and like your general overview of this class? What do you reckon of it? How we looking? How strong is it? How weak is it in areas? What are your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I think much has been made of like how quote unquote weak the 2026 class is. And I do think that relative to some of the other classes we've had in recent memory and some of the ones that are coming up, it maybe is a little bit weaker. But I mean, by the time we get to April, there's always going to be 2 rounds worth of guys that we kind of fall in love with and convince ourselves on. And I've already dove into some tape on guys that particularly the wide receiver position, I think there's some depth there. I think there's some really good big-bodied wide receivers. We've had a lot of smaller framed guys in recent years, but you're getting a bunch of guys that are like 6'3 plus in this draft class, which is pretty fun. Running back, I don't know that there's as much depth, but there's top heavy. There's a couple of really good running backs in this class that I'm excited about. And it's looking like another iffy quarterback class, but I do like what I've seen from Fernando Mendoza, at least at this point. And we'll talk about a couple other guys that could potentially be first round Superflex guys as we get into the thing here. So there's 3 guys really that could go first round at the quarterback position, and potentially a tight end or 2 that could be interesting as well. So it's not a terrible class. The strength is probably at wide receiver for the most part in this class, but there's going to be some names, particularly the top 5 or 6 guys. I think there's going to be some names at the top that you're excited to get.
Yeah, definitely for sure. At the top, there's not much to argue with these guys. So let's start there then, Matt. Shall we? We're saying off air. You've done a tremendous job rebuilding because you got every single pick in the first round here. So nice work. We
Total
are super
control.
flex. Exactly. You say we are super flex here. That doesn't always necessarily mean we're taking a quarterback 101. Some people have not in the show. I can't wait to see. Where are you going with your pick?
I'm going at the 101 with Jeremiah Love, running back out of Notre Dame. And this guy, he is really fun to watch. So he is one of the 6 that I have done an in-depth deep dive scouting report on. And man, his tape was really fun. I think he's right up there. You know, every year, the last few years, we've had a guy or 2 that's been like a lock for first round. I mean, we had Genty, we had Bijan and Gibbs. We've had others that we've been really excited about. I think Jeremiah Love is like right up there in the conversation with those guys. I had him graded out in the elite fantasy producer tier on my film grading system. And really, like, he's not the most powerful back. That's probably his one limitation. He's listed at 6 foot, 214 pounds. So that's a little bit of a thin frame. We'll see what actually comes out on the combine. If he was like 5'10, 5'11 and closer to 220, that would be a lot better. I don't think it's going to go that way. I wouldn't be surprised if it was more like 210. He's a little on the thin side. He's got great contact balance, but not the most powerful, like pile pusher, short yardage, goal line type of situation. That's probably where he's a little bit more limited. But he does have great contact balance. He is a tackle breaker. He's very elusive, can make guys miss in space. He's a great receiver too. I think more so than the stats would suggest. I think Notre Dame probably underutilized him in that area, but he can go out in the slot, run real routes, soft hands. I mean, he's super athletic. He's got explosiveness and burst that reminded me of Jahmyr Gibbs at times watching on tape. So yeah, Jeremiah Love, really fun player. I feel very confident he's going to be a first round pick, and first round picks at the running back position are super safe investments in your rookie draft. I feel pretty confident he's going to be a cornerstone piece on dynasty rosters, and I feel good taking him at the 101, even in Superflex.
Yeah, I think he's, in terms of the running backs anyway, he really stands out for me as someone that's got to be at the top. And I love that you mentioned all those things. Last week I mentioned the receiving game is something that I see as a real, like, massive bonus for Jeremiah Love, and you're right, you are witnessing a little bit more in Notre Dame. What I really like about him actually is it's been a while since we've seen an NFL player that has their own sort of like patented move, but that spin move that he has is
so good.
phenomenal. Like, he brings it out all the time, right? Is that something you've noticed in the tape? It must be.
Yeah. We did a podcast on him a couple weeks ago, and all 3 of us made a note about that. I've got 2 co-hosts, and so we each kind of do our own separate tape watch, and then we come together, and we haven't talked about it at all during the week, and we kind of live react to each other's tape notes on air. And all 3 of us had notes about that spin move. It's like it's like watching a video game. He has the speed to really like threaten outside, and guys are trying to overplay and beat him to the edge, and then he just plants that foot, spins back to the inside, and just sent. I mean, I've seen him send crowds of guys flying past him all at the same time. It really is. It's like playing the college football video game with like the Hall of Fame spin badge or whatever. It's crazy.
It is a real. The only shame is that the Madden games and the college games don't have the triangle button as a spell move, because then you have the love triangle, Matt. Can you beat that for like a name like that? Would have been absolutely perfect. I would think of something
That's
else
right.
instead.
Love circle.
Yeah, but love circle. Yeah, that's kind of. We'll come back to that later. See if we can get a name locked in for that. So he is locked in at 1012. That's Jeremiah Love. Who's going next at 102?
At 1-2, I had to go to the quarterback position here, and I did go with Fernando Mendoza. He's not a guy that I have done an in-depth scouting report on yet, but I will say I watched tape on Elijah Sarrott, who I'm going to talk about later. And normally when I'm watching wide receiver tape, it's kind of easy to like pick on the quarterback, like, oh man, he should have, that pass was a little high, or it was a little behind him, or, oh, he was open and the quarterback didn't see him. Normally I come away when I'm scouting wide receiver film, like frustrated with the quarterback more often than not. This time I was like, wow, like Mendoza, particularly, he was throwing with a lot of anticipation. So it was like as soon as Sarrott would snap out of his break, the ball's right there waiting on him. And I love that a quarterback isn't waiting to like see somebody open and then throw it, because you're going to be late more often than not doing that, but anticipating the guy's about to come open and hitting it on time and on target. I saw that a lot from Mendoza when I was watching Sarratt's tape. And I mean, at 6 foot, 6'5", 225 pounds, he's got the size profile that you're looking for. He's got enough mobility to make defenses, to keep them honest. I don't think he's like a Lamar Jackson by any means, but I think he can move around a little bit. He's not a statue back there, and he's got a big arm. He can rip the seam, rip it to the sideline. So he's got a lot of the traits that you're looking for. Obviously just won the Heisman Trophy. He's probably going to be the 101 in the real NFL draft, if I had to take a guess. Now, if the Titans are there at 101, maybe somebody trades up. I do think he'll be the first quarterback off the board for sure. So we'll see what happens with that. I expect there to be really good draft capital for Fernando Mendoza. So I went with him at the 102.
He's 6'5". I didn't quite appreciate that in particular, that he has that serious. Like, obviously, he doesn't look small by any means, but like that's something that does explain that rushing upside. When you see him, he is kind of difficult to bring down. I didn't quite appreciate that he had that huge 6'5" frame. So Mendoza, it seems to be that he is going to go at the very tippy top of the draft. I mean, do you just get terrified? What if the Browns take him? What do you do, Matt? Like, you just get so scared. You just stay away. Like, at what point do you look at landing spot for Mendoza? Because obviously he's not an elite quarterback. He's a good quarterback, but at what stage does landing spot really factor into what you do, or do you just go, hey, Superflex, I'm going to take quarterback?
It can. I mean, obviously we've seen with Cam Ward this year what landing spot can do, right?
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of these quarterbacks. I mean, whether you look at a Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, so many of these quarterbacks kind of flamed out at their first landing spot because they just didn't have the right coaching or the right pieces around them or whatever, and they put it together somewhere else later in their career. So I do think landing spot, I mean, it can break these guys. If things go the wrong way, it can really break these guys. So you have to pay attention to it. But at the same time, we've seen really good quarterbacks turn franchises around as well. So it's hard. It's more of an art than a science. I would say most likely these teams getting picked high in the NFL draft, they're going to a bad franchise.
Yeah.
And they might get thrown into starting too early. And so, even a Caleb Williams rookie season, pretty disappointing from a fantasy perspective. So you have to, but you've seen like Drake May and Jaden Daniels have the opposite thing go on. So it really, it's hard to count on if you're a contender that maybe has made a trade and has the 102 and you're like, I really need a QB2 on my roster, and Mendoza lands with the Browns. Like, I don't know if I'm trusting Mendoza to come in and produce right away. You might have to be patient with a guy, but I do think long-term, like if you can lock down your quarterback spot in a super flex, you got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You got to take the risk for QB because the value's going to be extraordinary if it hits for sure. So he's locked in at 102. Who's following up next? Are we sticking in the quarterback position? Are we going to see another position? What do you think?
No, I mentioned the strength of this class might be the wide receiver position, and
Yeah.
my next 3 picks are all going to be wide receiver. Spoiler
Okay.
alert. I'm going to start with Carnell Tate, and I'll
Mhm.
be really interested to see. So the other 2 guys that I'm taking at 1-4 and 1-5, I have not scouted in depth yet, but Carnell Tate I have, and so I'm kind of defaulting to Carnell Tate right now because he's the guy that I've scouted and that I know looks like a
Yeah.
bona fide star. He came out a few points lower on the film grade for me than Jeremiah Love did. So Jeremiah Love was like in the 83, 84 range. I don't have it pulled up right in front of me.
Mhm.
Carnell Tate was like at a 79. And
Okay.
so just for context for listeners, anything from a 75 to 79.9 is a fantasy starter. 80 to 85 is like elite fantasy producer, and 85 and up is like a generational talent.
Okay.
So that's kind of how we have it laid out on our attribute scoring. So for me, Carnell Tate is right on the border of like high-end fantasy starter to elite fantasy producer is how I have him graded. I think he needs some work in his release against press coverage. He needs some work in his short to intermediate route running.
Mhm.
Really, really great deep route runner. So this guy, like putting on double moves, winning down the field. I think he had like 18 or 20 yards a catch in college this season. So I would like to see more from him. And sometimes what you'll see is that a college offense only asked him to do a certain set of things. It doesn't mean that he can't do it. So like Brian Thomas
Yeah.
Jr. is an example. He was playing with Malik Neighbors in college. Malik Neighbors was the go-to like target hog, all the short to intermediate stuff. Brian Thomas was a deep threat. Well, then he comes into the league and shows, hey, he can do some of that short to intermediate stuff too. He just wasn't asked to do it at LSU. And I think that could be the case here with Carnell Tate playing across from Jeremiah Smith. Last year playing with Emeka Egbuka. Before that, I think he shared the field with Marvin Harrison Jr. So,
Yeah.
at Ohio State, it's always like a who's who of NFL caliber wide receivers that you're waiting your turn behind. And Tate had a really good season, but he's got phenomenal ball skills. 6'3", seems like a pretty big wingspan, can jump, can really extend out, catch balls away from his frame. Great body control to like reach back and contort his body. Great job toe tapping on the sidelines, contested catch, like everything that you want in terms of securing anything thrown his way. I don't think I scouted 5 full games of all 22. I don't think there was a single catchable pass that he didn't catch. Like he just everything, it hit his hands like glue and just stuck. So he's got great athleticism, a good body build. I think he's crisp getting in and out of his routes. Like he didn't run a ton in the short to intermediate, but what he did run, he showed that he could do it in terms of like slants and quick outs and things like that. So I want to see him at the NFL level be a little bit more of a target hog than
Mm.
what we saw at Ohio State. But lots of high level traits. Carnell Tate, I think, is just the next in a long line of like every year, okay, there's going to be a first round wide receiver from Ohio State, and he's going to
Yeah.
come into the league polished and ready to produce, and he's going to be an immediate contributor on your fantasy team. And I don't think Carnell Tate is any exception to that. I think he's a really, really strong prospect.
Yeah, Tate's great fun to watch, and these 3 wide receivers, I'm sure they're the 3 that everybody's thinking at home as well. I've seen so many interchangeable like positions with them. For me, I've just got all 3 in the same tier because I think all 3 of them are really, really good and will bring immediate impact to your fantasy team. For me, I actually have Tate ranked, if I had to rank them, 3rd in my tier for now, but I've not fully gone super in depth. For me, it's because at the minute, from what I've seen that he can do pretty much everything at a B plus level. Whereas with the other 2, I'm looking at some of the A plus attributes and pushing them ahead because of that. But I actually think Tate is maybe the best, all rounder, if that makes sense. But I think the other two maybe have
Sure.
some attributes that might equal more fantasy points in the long run. But I think Tate, for me, of the three, has the best floor of the three for sure. So he's definitely a safe option at 3. And the other two we're going to see go now at 4 and of course at 5 as well. So interested to see who you've got up next at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, so at 4th, I have Jordan Tyson from Arizona State. He is listed at 6'2", 200 pounds. So he's a little bit more compact, I guess, than Tate. Tate's 6'3" in the 190s. So Tyson's maybe a little bit stronger, little bit thicker frame on him, and he's produced. I think his production profile, and again, you have to have the caveat of Ohio State and the team there that that Tate had to wait his turn. But when you look at what Tyson has done in his collegiate career, over 1,000 yards in 2024, over 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns, and would have been well on that pace this year. I think he really slowed down when the quarterback situation fell apart, and I think maybe he dealt with some injuries. I'm not sure exactly.
He had a hamstring.
Yeah. So he's 711 yards this season, but with some context, I think he would have easily eclipsed 1,000. So he's been consistently, and the biggest thing is 61 catches compared to Carnell Tate is in the 40s in terms of catches. I think 48 receptions. So Tyson had a little bit more of that go-to guy, like possession receiver, rather than just being a big play deep down the field. So I haven't dug into Tyson's tape yet, but what I have seen, I've really liked. I think he's a really fluid mover for 6'2", 200 pounds. I think he can run routes. I think he can win after the catch. I've seen some nice ball skills, just casually watching games. So I'm excited to get into Tyson's tape, and I'm really curious, honestly, when all is said and done, and I've watched him and I've watched Tate, which one I'll have ranked higher. And you could throw the third guy in there too. At 105, I went with Mekhi Lemon. I'll spoil that. Those are the three that I think that's where the conversation starts and stops for who's the wide receiver 1. And I honestly don't know which of those three. I totally agree with you. Just having them in a tier right now. And once I've done my deep analysis, I don't know which of the three I'll have the highest. But for now, I put Tate first, then Tyson, then Lemon.
Love it. I've got the reverse. I've actually got Lemon at number 1 for now, just because of to be honest, I've loved watching him play so much that I'm just like, this guy is insane. Like every single game he sees the play, it's just like, wow, it's the run after the catch ability in particular with Mekhi Lemon that I'm just like completely blown away with. And I think that could be something. And I mean, maybe it's looking at someone like a Jackson Smith and Jigba this year going, wow, this could really break fantasy football. If Mekhi Lemon is given that slot role, we can see that it can really just crush in terms of fantasy points for your team. So in a dream scenario, that's what Mekhi Lemon will get in the NFL next year. And he's got the running after the catch ability to really do some damage. That was interesting. The only thing I've got on Jordan Tyson, so I really like that you mentioned body control, because that's my number 1 attribute for him. It's not a lot of run after the catch, not a lot of those yak yards really for Tyson in particular. It seems like once he got hit, he kind of went down quite easy. He wasn't breaking a lot of tackles. He's not the biggest, but Mekhi Lemon's smaller and he's out there breaking tackles all day. So that's maybe the only hit I have for Jordan Tyson. But again, I'm kind of like you. I need to dig into it a little bit.
I haven't dug into Tyson's film to grade that. I will say that for Carnell Tate, I did not see much after the catch with him. And again, I mean, you're talking about average yards per catch of like 18, 20 yards down the field. He was being used as such a deep threat. It's hard to do yak when you're catching the ball that far down the field. So I had him graded at a 6 on my scale, which is like NFL average for Tate. I have a feeling that Mekhi Lemon, just from casual, like what I've watched, he's probably going to be an 8 or 9 at least on yards after catch.
Yeah.
Again, I have not watched the All-22. I've just watched, live games as they've happened. But yeah, Mekhi Lemon, and I'm glad that you brought up what you did too about the size, because I think 5-10 years ago, you're like, okay, he's 5'11". The other guys are 6'2", 6'3". Like, clearly we're going to go with the big bodied alpha guy. That's not true in the NFL anymore.
No.
Like, most of the best fantasy wide receivers are somewhere in the like 5'10" to 6'1"
Yeah.
range. A lot of them are playing in the slot. Jackson Smith and Jigba is a great example. I think Mekhi Lemon profiles pretty similarly to him. And I love that Lemon, even though he's 5'11", he's 195 pounds. So he's got a thicker, stronger build on him than either of the other two guys that we've talked about. I think he's put on weight since he got into college. I think he's got some dog in him. Like, he can break tackles. He can go up and make tough catches, even though he doesn't maybe have as much catch radius as the other two guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think, like, I would much prefer, if I'm going to get a smaller slot type, give me this type that's like 5'11", 6 foot, but 200 pounds and has the toughness and the physicality over, maybe like an Xavier Worthy who's, 5'8" and 180 pounds soaking wet or whatever. Right. Like, if I'm going to go for that smaller profile that is twitchy and quick in and out of breaks and runs routes, I love that profile, but give me some meat on the bones too. And Mekhi Lemon has that. So 79 receptions, over 1,100 yards, and 11 touchdowns this season. I think he's definitely, all three of these guys, I feel fairly confident they're going to be in the first round of the NFL draft.
Yep.
And have an opportunity to come in and produce right away. And they're all really good prospects that you would be excited to get with a top five pick in a Superflex draft.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think these two are looking really, really good for anyone who's got a top 5 pick. So they're locked in. We got another pick coming up now at 106. You sticking with wide receiver here? Or you going somewhere else?
No, I'm going somewhere else. I went back to the quarterback position here, and I went with Dante Moore out of Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Dante Moore, interesting career arc for this guy. Like, he was my number one quarterback when he came in out of high school to college. I liked him better than I think he was in the same class with like Nico Iamaleava and oh man, what was the name of that guy that he ended up at like Boise State and then flamed out at Boise State. Like, he's transferred a couple times already. I can't even remember his name, but
yeah, I've got a share of him in Debbie that I'm just waiting.
Yeah. People love that guy, and he just never did anything. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Dante Moore was my number one quarterback when he came into college. Had a pretty up and down season at UCLA. Like, he won the job as a true freshman, had some moments, showed some traits, but threw a lot of interceptions, ultimately got benched, and then transferred out of UCLA. I thought he made a really mature decision. First of all, it was telling when he hit the transfer portal that all the big schools wanted him. Malachi Nelson was the other guy. He started at USC, then he went to Boise. Now I don't even know where he is. But Malachi Nelson, when he hit the portal, like, he had to land at Boise because nobody wanted him. Dante Moore hits the portal. All the big schools are like raving to get this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes the mature decision to go to Oregon, even though he knows he's not going to be the starter there. He's going to wait his turn behind Dylan Gabriel and learn and improve, and then play on a big national stage for a really good football team. And that's exactly what he did. And this year, he takes that job over from Dylan Gabriel, absolutely balled out. I think he's got really good mobility. I think he's got a really pretty deep ball. Ball just looks beautiful coming out of his hands, looks effortless when he throws it. As is typically the case with Oregon, a lot of dinks and dunks and short passes. That's just how they run their offense. But then when that defense crowds down, he has that ability to throw it over the top too. And, obviously we've seen Bo Nix come out of that same offense, and that was the knock on Bo Nix. And he's still been a really, really good pro. So I like Dante Moore. I think he's got a lot of the traits that you want in terms of mobility and arm strength and that type of thing, and some maturity. I think he's learned to process, from a guy that was throwing a bunch of turnovers early in his career
Yeah.
to a guy this year at Oregon, 24 touchdowns to just 6 interceptions. So, yeah, I like that we've seen him develop and learn the mental side of the game too, to go with all these traits. 6'3", 206 is plenty of size, and it's looking like probably first round capital unless he goes back to school. So Dante Moore for
Yeah.
me at 106.
Well, it's like an unusual trait, and it sounds like I'm knocking him. I'm not. I just think it's unusual. What I noticed with Dante Moore is he's better throwing to the sideline than he is throwing over the middle a lot of the time. Like he's better making these like throws that are typically sometimes seen as like the outside the numbers, the trickier throws that he is making these little dink and dunk throws that Oregon make him do a lot, which kind of shows to me that he's really like super accurate when he can bring all these throws and the receivers always manage to get their feet in bounds. That's super impressive. Whenever I watch Dante Moore, I think he could still improve on like sometimes just like the little basic things, which is quite odd that he can do what I perceive anyway to be the difficult things. And actually it's the bread and butter that he needs to maybe clean up on a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if he's one of the guys you tape studied yet, but that's something I've
No,
noticed.
I haven't tape studied him yet. When I watched live, I have noticed a little bit of that too, though. Like I think even in the Penn State game, there was like that it's in overtime. It's this crucial moment. He's got a guy wide open on a crossing route, and he just like throws it behind him. Um, that type of thing that you know, clean up the
Mhm.
mechanics and get some of that accuracy. Because again, like you said, some of the really difficult throws, like ball placement deep down the field, back shoulder, that type of stuff, like he
Yeah.
can make those look easy. Got to clean up the simple stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But he's looking good value there at 106 for sure. So let's move on to 107. Where are you going next, Matt?
This might be the spiciest pick that I've
Ooh.
made so far. Consensus is all over the place. I've seen him go in the second round of mock drafts. I've seen him go in the third round of a mock draft.
Ooh.
Um, I'm taking him here at 107, and that's Jonah Coleman, running back out of Washington. Um, I, I have not deep dive studied on the tape yet, but
Yeah.
one of the hats that I wear in the fantasy football space is I cut film for the Dynasty Nerds film room.
Oh yeah.
And so as I'm like, I take the full game of all 22 and I'm like cutting it up into individual snaps, getting rid of the ones that we don't need, and highlighting the player. So it's a little bit of a monotonous, tedious job, but I get to do some scouting while I'm doing it because I'm watching the plays over and over. Every time I cut a Washington game, I was like, Jonah Coleman, like this guy, he has fantastic size I think he's listed at 228 pounds with like 5'10". So he's, you can fact check me on
He
that.
looks heavier. He looks heavier than that as well. Like he's like a cannonball. Like
Yeah.
just yeah.
5'9",
Yeah.
5'9", 228.
Okay.
I just looked it up. So he
Yeah.
is thick, strong dude. And I was surprised at how much juice, because I was expecting him to just be a plotter when I looked at that size
Yeah.
profile. I was like, no, this guy is like running away from people. He's got short area burst. He's creating these big chunk plays. Not the most elusive guy in the world. Like he's looking to knock your teeth out. He's not looking to make you miss. But man, like the explosiveness, the way he could plant one foot in the ground and cut up field and just like accelerate out of the cut at his size profile was really, really impressive. And soft hands, like the guy can catch. So that was exciting to me. When you talk about like ideal NFL size,
Yeah.
real NFL athleticism, and you can catch passes, like that's a combination that is going to score fantasy points. And I would be surprised if he makes it out of day two, especially in like a weaker running back class. Like for me, he's my clear RB2, especially Justice Haynes. I didn't include in my top 12 of this because I expect him to go back to school.
Okay.
And if Justice Haynes goes back to school, like Jonah Coleman would very clearly, to me, like I don't even know who else would be in the conversation for my RB2 in the class at this point. I'm sure there will be some guys that I haven't studied yet that come up, but yeah, Jonah Coleman, I'm excited about. I think if he gets like second round draft capital and he's got the traits that I'm looking for, I don't see any reason why he shouldn't go this high in a rookie draft.
Yeah, he's a guy that's really good. I'm surprised. Like you said, someone took him in the third round. I mean, that is a steal.
I don't know who. I'm not dropping names. I mean, I was looking at some other Reddit posts for their other people's mock drafts when I was preparing for this one to see kind of what consensus was. And I saw one of them, he went at like 207, and then another one he was at like 301. And I was like, man, I don't know. Maybe I'm just super high on the guy, but that seemed crazy to me. So I was like, I'm going with Jonah Coleman here at the 107, and I guess it's a flag plant for me. So
love it. I love it. The guy I've got in a tussle with Coleman, the same tier behind. He's in my second tier running backs behind Jeremy. I love the guy I've got in a tussle with him. Maybe this is me being a lot higher than consensus. Katron Allen is the guy that I've got in a tussle with Jonah Coleman. I really like what I've seen out of him at Penn State far more than his teammate actually. Who we might get on to talk about. Who knows?
We might have a little friendly argument on that one. Katron Allen, funnily enough, he's one of the 6 guys that I did a deep dive tape study on.
Cool.
And he did not make my top 12 here. Probably wouldn't have made my top 24. I was pretty low. Like I watched the tape because I knew the production was there and has been there since he was a freshman, and I the name is very much out there. And I was like, wow, this guy has no juice. Like the athleticism, it's just not NFL caliber on Katron Allen. In my opinion, what I saw, I'm like, he had good vision, tough nosed runner, can pass protect, like a coach will love him.
Yeah.
But I didn't really see a lot of elusiveness. I didn't really see a lot of tackle breaking. It's just kind of like he's going to get what's there for you and maybe a yard or two extra, get what's blocked. And that's about it. He's not much of a pass catcher either. So for me, I'm projecting Katron Allen as a day 3 pick and probably a backup in the NFL.
Oh, I'm looking forward because like I say, he's not one that I've done a deep dive in. There is always one guy, Matt, and now I'm afraid it's going to be Katron Allen, that I go in to watch with high expectations, be like, I love this guy, and then it's like, oh no, he sucks. I'm
sorry to. I mean, I kind of had that experience. I was like, all right, you know, he beat out Nick Singleton. Like this guy's probably a baller. And I wasn't that impressed, unfortunately. But
I'll shoot you a message.
I don't want to ruin your. Yeah, I don't want to like poison the well for you where you go in expecting to not like him. But
well, actually, I use the Dynasty Hotseat film route, so you can cut up the best of Katron Allen you can find. That'd be great, man. Thanks, make me feel.
Well, we've got a lot of him because he was draft eligible last year, so we were cutting up all his tape last year, and then he decided to stay. So we've probably got 12 or 13 games of Katron Allen in there.
Nice. Okay, I can't wait to dive into it. But anyway, he's not up here. I'd be shocked if he appears at 108 after all that. So we'll talk about Katron, and let's go with who you got at 108.
At 108, I've got Kevin Concepcion, Texas A&M, formerly of the NC State Wolfpack. That's my alma mater. Go Pack.
Nice.
So I've been watching Concepcion since he was a true freshman. I think he won ACC Freshman of the Year his freshman season at NC State.
Yeah,
really good player. And honestly, like we haven't been that great offensively for a few years now. I'm not surprised that he transferred out. The whole offense was built around him his freshman year. Nobody really, like, opponents didn't have scouting tape on him. It was like by his sophomore season, I think teams had figured out that, like, if they just triple cover Kevin Concepcion, NC State won't have much to offer. So, and we didn't have a great quarterback either. So he transfers out. Texas A&M kind of unlocks him. He's another smaller guy, probably profiles as a majority slot player, which again, we have seen that that's not a deal breaker in the NFL these days. That can actually be a really good thing. And similarly to Makai Lemon, he's a little stout. He's 5'11", but he's 190. So Lemon was 195. So very similar size profile there. And I think he's just a really crisp route runner. Like these guys that are smaller, lower center of gravity, they're so quick. They can change direction, and he's incredible after the catch. So a lot of the things that we said about Lemon honestly could be said about Concepcion too. And he went over 800 yards his freshman year. He's over 800 yards this year. Had that down sophomore year in between. I think with the playoffs, he could get to over 1,000 yards potentially this season. We'll see.
Yep.
But he's been their go-to guy, him and Mario Craver, all season long, and he's been getting it done for them. Like winning much more at the intermediate level. I think NC State used him really in kind of a gadgety, short, close to the line of scrimmage, mostly as a yak guy. And Texas A&M kind of unlocked an element of his game that really we needed to see to project him to the NFL level, that you can go win in the intermediate and even deep levels of the field. And it's not just like a screen merchant essentially. So I like what Kevin Concepcion has shown this year. And I think he's going to be a guy that if he gets the draft capital and gets a good opportunity, his skill set should translate. My philosophy is like route running first for the wide receiver. If you can run routes, you're going to get open. If you're going to get open, you're going to earn targets. And we all play in PPR leagues these days. And, these guys that are target hogs, that's what you want for fantasy. So I think Concepcion can definitely be that at the NFL level.
Yeah, he's got, you mentioned it with Makai Lemon as well. He's got that sort of like dog in him as well. Like if there's been touchdowns I've watched him score where he's got like players hanging off him, you think, oh, he's going to go down. Like he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he keeps going. And in the red zone, I was very impressed with a guy who I thought was like more of like your slot guy. He's not going to be much of a red zone threat. I don't know the exact stats on him, but every now and again he'd show up again in the red zone and be like, oh, okay, so like there he is again, like making plays that you wouldn't necessarily have expected him to make. And I think he's got better, Matt, as the season's gone on. I feel like I think he's getting better and better and better, right?
Yeah, 9 touchdowns on the year, which again, for like a primary slot guy, like that's a lot of touchdowns. And early in the year, I mean, it was 3 catches, 72 yards, 6 catches, 73 yards. Not bad, but towards the end of the year, you're seeing games like 7 for 158 against South Carolina. He had 4 for 84 and a touchdown against Mizzou. So not the best game against Texas. 5 catches, 57 yards, no touchdowns. That was their last game of the season. But he's had some big games. 7 catches, 113 yards against Auburn. So there's been some games where he's like really racked up the catches. He's really been the go-to guy, and be curious. He's going to get a chance definitely on a big stage in the college football playoff against some top competition to go out there and show what he can do to NFL scouts.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see what he's able to do. So we got 4 more picks left in round 1, Matt. Where are we going with the next one?
Yeah, at 109, I went with the guy that's probably the consensus tight end 1 right now in the class, and that's Kenyon SADIQ out of Oregon, Dante Moore's teammate. And at this point, like, I don't think he's the most polished guy in the world in terms of like routes and, just crisp technique, but he is an absolute athletic freak. Like he's just like built in the lab kind of freakishness. He's listed at 6'3", 245 pounds. I think it's 245 pounds of pure muscle. I don't think there's hardly a shred of body fat on him, but I mean, he's a beast in the blocking game. He can really go up and high point a catch. He's fast. He's going to be a mismatch for linebackers at the tight end position. I think he can really, really elevate his stock at the combine. And he's had some big receiving games this year. Like he's not just out there blocking. The stats, they're all right. 40 receptions, 490 yards, 8 touchdowns. For a tight end, that's okay. Had a big game against USC on a big stage, 6 catches, 72 yards, 2 touchdowns against a ranked opponent. And he's another guy that I think is going to get a chance to show some things. I believe Oregon's in the playoffs. Yeah, college
Yeah,
football playoff.
they've only lost one game, right? And
Yeah,
they
that's
usually
what
slide in, right?
I
Yeah.
thought. So, yeah, I mean, SADIQ feels like he's headed towards being a first round pick at the tight end position.
Yeah.
I think it'll be between him and Eli Stowers for who's going to be the tight end one in the class out of
Mhm.
Vanderbilt. And I think Stowers is more technical and a better route runner, and SADIQ is like much more athletic. So pick your poison there. I went with SADIQ here at the 109. And again, if you're playing in any kind of a tight end premium league and a tight end goes first round, you're probably taking him in the first round of your rookie draft. That's just, I don't make the rules. That's just how we play.
Yeah, SADIQ, he's my tight end one as well. I've actually got him in a tier of his own. I got Soares in a tier with Max Clare out of Ohio State for now, anyway. But yeah, I do prefer Soares. He used to be like a really like high end quarterback prospect. If I remember correctly, like Stowers. I kind of vaguely have that in the
Stowers.
back. Yeah, I've got that in the back of my
Yeah,
mind
he's a
somewhere.
position change guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, SADIQ, it's interesting. I don't think he's quite on the level of like a Ty Warren or Colston Loveland from last year. Those guys were much more
Yeah.
polished than he is,
Yeah.
although he might be a better athlete than either one of them.
Mm.
They had better production profiles. They were more polished. But we've seen like a couple of years in a row now, whether it was Ty Warren, Brock Bowers, Laporta,
Yeah.
if a guy gets good draft capital, steps right into being his team's starting tight end, and then he produces as a rookie, like that's the position, particularly in tight end premium leagues, that at the end of the year, every year, it seems like, man, that guy was going late first and he should have been like 102. Like in
Yeah.
hindsight, that's the one that it seems like we sleep on these tight ends, and then they become just these, if they hit, they become an absolute cornerstone dynasty asset because the position is so scarce.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great place to pick up SADIQ. He's locked in on the first round for me for sure. And you got three more of these first rounders to go. Who's going at 110 for you?
At 110, I put this one in here more for to give the listeners an idea of what consensus is.
Mm.
Not necessarily because he's who I would feel excited to take here. And that's Ty Simpson out of Alabama. In most mock
Okay.
drafts, he probably would have gone earlier than this, maybe. Because I think right now he is getting first round NFL draft buzz. And obviously, you get a Superflex. The guy goes first round in the NFL draft. He probably goes higher than this in a Superflex draft, right?
Yeah.
And I have not done a deep dive on the tape for Ty Simpson, but just what I have watched casually, I haven't been overly impressed with him. I think he is sort of mobile, but like not super mobile, like he's kind of billed as a dual threat guy, and I think he's willing to run. But I'm not sure he actually has the athleticism that's going to translate. Like he's got 81 carries, 98 yards, and 2 touchdowns, which again, if you're not familiar with the way the college does things, sacks count as negative rushing yards. So quarterback rushing numbers always look wonky. So if
Yeah.
1.2 yards per carry sounds crazy to you, it's because of the sacks. So he's had some decent mobility for college. I don't think it's going to translate a ton to the NFL. Like it almost reminds me of like a Johnny Manziel or a Baker Mayfield or one of these guys that ran a lot in college, but just didn't have the
Yeah.
athleticism to do it. Bryce Young, kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
comes to mind for that. So I don't think he's got the strongest arm. And I know the numbers here, 26 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, look really good. And maybe I just picked the wrong game because I was cutting up a game for the film room on Dynasty Nerds, and it was, there were some bad throws.
Yeah.
I'll just say that there were some turnover worthy plays that the defense maybe dropped the interception at the last minute. I think it was the Oklahoma game. Maybe they lost to Oklahoma earlier in the year, and I was cutting up that tape.
Bad.
He threw for 326 yards and a touchdown. He had one pick, I think there were probably a couple more that should have been picked. And he had negative rushing yards in that game. So,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, I'll be curious. Like, I'm sure there probably are other better games. He's not getting first round hype for no reason. I don't think it's as simple as just he's an Alabama quarterback and they're ranked and whatever. Like, I'm sure there's some traits there. Just what I've seen, he didn't jump off the page to me as somebody that I was overly impressed with. I was actively looking for NFL traits and having a hard time finding them. So
Yeah, he's a guy that in my rankings I didn't even put him in because I think he would be unless he's declared that I've missed something. I think he would be foolish not to go back for another year at Alabama at this stage because he had a little like hot streak kind of in the middle of the year. I was like, wow, like Ty Simpson's like dealing here. And then the last couple of weeks, he just looked horrendously bad. Was throwing. I wouldn't be shocked. You said he had 5 interceptions. I wouldn't be shocked if the vast majority of them were in his last 5 games because he looked awful. Like the last couple of games, I think he needs to go back to college. He can't. Like I just don't see how he would even. You said he's getting that round one buzz. I suppose maybe, but I think if he goes back, plays another year, is really solid. He's got a chance of solidifying himself high up in the first round. But I don't know, maybe we've seen Jalen Milroe declared against everyone else's advice, so maybe he will as well. Like,
so since November 15th, 4 of his 5 interceptions have been since November 15th.
Yeah.
So you're right. He did kind of fall apart there down the stretch. And I don't know if he's gonna get first round capital, maybe you come out in the weaker class hoping that by default you're gonna get the capital. Whereas if you go back, you got Julian Sayin and Arch Manning and maybe DJ Lagway has a resurgence after he transfers and who knows, there's a lot more guys potentially in the 2027 class that would push him down the board. But only 1 year starting experience. I agree with you. I think going back would be the right move for him. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, hopefully he does for his own good. Anyway, you got 2 picks left, Matt. Where are you going with 111 to start with?
All right, 111. I went with Denzel Boston. This is a guy that I have done a deep dive on, wide receiver out of Washington, and we're actually going to be talking about him on the podcast tonight. So we're doing a podcast tonight. We record every Tuesday night for Couch Scouts, and Denzel Boston is the guy we'll be discussing. And
amazing.
This dude's a tank. I mean, 6'4". I think he's 210 pounds, maybe. He's strong, and he plays super physical. A little bit lumbering in and out of his breaks, doesn't sink his hips super well. Not your like super sudden change direction on a dime kind of guy, but pretty fast when he builds up to it. Really good at beating press coverage, good release off the line, and just bully ball, like, at the catch point, pushing people, get off me, go up. He's got great ball skills, great body control, does the toe tap, contested catch in traffic. He's got all that. I don't think he's a terrible route runner. I think he's okay. And so a lot of times you get these big bodied guys, you call them contested catch merchants. I think of like Xavier Legette or, Treylon Burks or some of these guys that you're like, don't want to draft him in fantasy. I think Denzel Boston is a better route runner than those guys are. He just doesn't, his routes aren't the prettiest. He broke that guy's ankles and got 5 yards of separation. Like, it's more dirty, like not dirty in the sense like he's doing something shady. Just he just mucks it up. He gets in there and
bit janky, right?
Yeah, like he's not pushing off and doing offensive pass interference, but he knows how to hand fight and create separation with physicality. That's really, I think, his speed and his strength is where he creates most of his separation. It's not necessarily like his footwork is all right. He just isn't the quickest guy to change directions. So I think he can run a relatively diverse route tree. I think he's good against both man and zone, and he beats press coverage. So I think he gets open a lot. I think he can win in the contested situations. I think he's got a lot of NFL traits and can definitely be a good possession receiver at the next level. I I'm curious. I think he'll probably go somewhere in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
A little bit of an older prospect, definitely a slow start to his collegiate career. But I think he can be a guy. I'm trying to think of who a good comp for him would be from an NFL standpoint, because I don't think he's as good as like when I think of these big bodied X receivers that are elite, like a Devontae Adams, AJ Brown, like I don't think he's on
He's
that
not.
level. But I don't think he's as bad as like a Jonathan Mingo, Xavier Leggett, like
Somewhere
Keon
in between those
Coleman.
bunch,
He's
right?
somewhere in
Oh my
between.
goodness,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, maybe like I'm trying to think of a good example here. And it's not coming to mind.
It's because these
Maybe a
guys
little
so
bit.
often are one or the other, right? It's rare
Yeah,
that you get a guy
honestly.
in between.
Yeah.
Like I don't have the alarm bells going like I did with Keon Coleman and Quentin Johnson. I had alarm bells going all over
Yep.
watching their tape. I don't necessarily have that with Boston, but I don't have the opposite side either of like, oh my goodness, like must draft. He's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, he is. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about him on the podcast tonight. I'll have to think of a better comparison before tonight for who he might play like, or what an upside comp for him might be at the NFL level.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those guys that you'll just wake up, go like, oh, that's the guy. Like did we say Cortland Sutton? Is that
Yeah, Cortland
maybe?
Sutton would
Yeah,
be. Yeah, I like that.
yeah.
That's good.
Let's do that. We'll go with Cortland Sutton. Not bad at all. So we got one more pick then after Denzel Boston. It's the final pick of the first round, Matt. Where are you going to go?
I decided for this one to just plant my flag on a guy, and I mentioned him earlier in the podcast, Elijah Sarrott, wide receiver out of
Yes.
Indiana. I don't think you're going to see him in the first round of any other mock anywhere else.
We have already, believe it or not, somebody he has been taken in the first round
Really?
already on
Okay.
the hot. Yeah. We're
Wow.
ahead of the game over here.
Let's go. I loved his tape. I didn't know what to expect coming into watching it. But actually, the guy we talked about, like really high level X wide receivers, the guy he reminded me of, and I feel crazy saying it, is Devontae Adams.
Mm.
Like the short to intermediate route running for Elijah Sarrett and the release against press coverage. I think I had him at a 9.5 out of 10 on release versus press and a 9 on
Nice.
short to intermediate route running. Like this guy is like slant king. Michael Thomas kind of shades of that
Yeah.
too. Like 6'2". I think he's in like the 205 to 210 range. So like good size on him and just a technician. Like in the red zone, it was like line him up one-on-one and he's going to win, and Mendoza's going to find him on a slant or a fade, and he's just going to rack up these red zone touchdowns. So I just love the combination of the size and the route running. He played with great physicality. He's not like a burner athlete. He's not doing a ton deep down the field. I think in the deep part of the field, it was more of like he's not creating a lot of separation. So we'll throw a back shoulder ball and he'll have to go use some ball skills, which he has good ball skills. Went up and made that catch against Ohio State. That was, I mean, that fade in the end zone, guy draped all over him. They had to have that play. I mean, that was big time. And it was what we saw on his tape too, when we scouted him for the podcast. So Elijah Sarrott, probably my favorite sleeper. I don't see a lot of people talking about him right now. And honestly, like I have a higher film grade on him than I had on Denzel Boston. So I'm curious to see what the draft capital looks like and all that. But I actually like, of the wide receivers I've scouted so far, which has been Carnell Tate, Denzel Boston, Elijah Sarrott, and then Chris Brazel out of Tennessee. Surratt's my number 2 there out of those 4 guys. Boston would be 3 and Brazel would be 4. And that's not necessarily a shot against Brazel. Brazel has some nice traits too. Probably more of, I would probably take him somewhere in the top half of the second round of this exercise. But Yeah, SARRATT was a guy that I was just like, wow, I really like this guy. If he gets an opportunity, I think he could be way better than people are expecting.
Yeah, it is interesting you brought up there. I'm looking through like my notes on Sarat, and I've said the word red zone over and over and over again. So it's interesting. Yeah, that's come up on your film as well. He's a guy that's really dangerous. And yeah, I think I'm gonna have Devontae Adams in mind now when I go in for a bit of a more of a deep dive on Sarat later, because that's lofty expectation to get
Yeah,
anywhere
that I mean,
near
I'm
Devon.
not
Yeah, I know
obviously
Devontae Adams, right? Yeah, yeah,
that's a upside ceiling comp,
yeah, yeah,
but I just the way that they're using Devontae in the red zone right now, where it's like,
yeah,
man, every time they get inside the 10-yard line, like Devontae's running a slant or a fade, and he's gonna cook
yeah,
whoever's guarding him, and Stafford's
yeah.
gonna hit him. Like that's kind of what SARRATT did in college. So that's where that comp came from. I'm not saying that SARRATT is a future Hall of Famer. I would love it if he was.
Yeah.
That's a ceiling, but
Mhm.
some similar stylistic things. I'll say there.
When Sirach goes in the Hall of Fame, and this is the biggest dynasty podcast in the world, they'll play this clip, Matt. And this will be like as it comes out on the stage. So don't worry about it at all. So that does bring us to the end of round number one, but we're not gonna let you go anywhere just yet, Matt, because everyone's favorite topic is sleeper picks. You did mention NC State earlier. We talking Hollywood Smothers here, Matt? What we do?
Yeah, actually, I do love Hollywood Smothers.
Yeah.
I think, man, he struggled down the stretch this season, was dealing with some injury stuff, but such a hot start to the year and was just consistently having monster weeks.
Yeah.
And I think there's some NFL traits there for sure, as far as like he's a smaller guy. I think 195 pounds at the running back position. We can work with that. I mean, Bucky Irving's smaller than that, or at least he
Yeah.
was as a
Yeah.
prospect. And he has that type of play style. I'm not saying he's Bucky Irving, but he's elusive. He's got great burst. He can catch passes, get him in open space. He's a big play waiting to happen, has some contact balance, can break tackles for being a smaller guy. So yeah, I like that you called out Hollywood Smothers. I think he's a
Yeah.
really good sleeper. Elijah SARRATT, I think, is still a sleeper at this point.
Yep.
And we'll see as I get further into the tape study. Some guys, at least from a statistical standpoint, that have popped out. I haven't watched any tape on these guys yet, but Mike Washington Jr. out of Arkansas got a Senior Bowl invite. He's had a big season. Looks like a guy that could be a pretty fun sleeper running back in this class. And then Emmett Johnson, I think is his name, out of Nebraska.
Yes. I haven't watched too much Nebraska.
Nebraska running back.
Annoys me.
5'11", 200 pounds. He's had a big season.
Okay.
He's put up almost 1,500 rushing yards with 12 touchdowns, and he's 46 receptions, 370 receiving yards. So he's kind of, just from a number standpoint, we were like, he was not on my radar at all. We added him to the Dynasty Nerds film room sheet. Like, we got to get some tape on this guy. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up getting a Senior Bowl invite too. Although I think he would be an early declare. I think he's a junior. So anyway, those are a couple guys. I'm not like planting my flag on them because I haven't watched the tape yet, but intriguing. I'm excited to get to their tape because of what they've done this season from a statistical standpoint.
Absolutely love it. And that does bring us to the end of the show. Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much again for coming onto the show. Just want to remind everyone listening at home, where can they find all your amazing work?
Yeah, you can look us up, Couch Scouts, on whatever podcast platform you use, and then check out couchscouts.com. Look into some of our website subscription packages. I think we pack a lot of value into those things, and we're always trying to add new features. And we also, this is not to like virtue signal or whatever. We love giving back too. So like, with 20% of whatever we make on our subscriptions, we want to give to nonprofits and charities.
Nice.
So you can come join us and using this fantasy football thing to do some good there as well. And couchscouts.com, use the promo code Hotseat. We'll give you 20% off your first year. So Yeah, thanks, Megs, for having me on. It's been super fun, and love talking rookies. I'm excited as we continue through the process to see how this class shakes out, and to dive into more of these guys, and put out another good rookie guide for y'all. So
Awesome. Cannot wait to see that. Thanks again for coming on. And of course, thank you at home as well. Hey, if you made it all the way through the video, you've not hit a like and a subscribe, or even dropped a little comment. How about a bonus comment for all of you who made it to the very end of the video? Who's one of your sleepers? I'd love to know. Why don't you leave that in the comment section? That'd be great. So from myself, thank you once again for tuning in to Dynasty Hotseat. And remember, for anything Dynasty, you need to know. Keep it locked on the certified intern. See you next time.